Hey, guys, coming to the stage right now. Please give it up for Mr. Benny Legg.
Woo, Benny Legg. He's a compulsive gambler. Yeah, he is. Woo.
Used to be. How come when you go down this sports book wearing sports team stuff, do people always assume that you know stuff about the team? Down there the other day, guy comes up to me, looks at my hat, he goes, "Hey, what do you think about Washington today?" And I tell him, "It's not a Washington hat." And he goes, "Well, what's the W stand for?" So I tell him, it stands for, well, I'm really fucking bald, so I always wear this hat. Did that look as cool as it felt? That's the first time I've ever done that.
It was really cool, actually. I liked it.
I recently celebrated 8 months gambling free. Thank you. You know, quitting something that only 15% of the country doesn't really feel like an accomplishment. But when you say it on stage, I appreciate the support. About a month ago, I actually decided to go to a Gamblers Anonymous meeting, and it was the first one that I ever decided to attend. And it wasn't because I got the itch to gamble, it was because I was just curious to see what it was all about. And I went there, and I left feeling really good about myself as a human being. As a comedian, I knew I should never step foot in there again. Because all the things that kept happening were hilarious. Like, I got more hugs there than I've gotten the past 3 years off any women. And do you know they hold those things in churches? Do you know how many times I prayed to God to win a $500 bet and he didn't help me once? And the great thing about Gamblers Anonymous is that you could get stoned out of your mind right before you go in there and nobody says a word. They even serve cake. And I'm not talking like the Walmart cake garbage. I'm talking like the cake your parents got you when your 5-year-old birthday, you know? Now I'm assuming that they serve the cake in case you get the munchies, you know? But gambling is one of two things that I'm awful at. The second thing is women. See, when I was living back in Pennsylvania, I was hooking up with this chick, and the condom broke. She started crying. And I'm like, "Hey, don't worry about it. We'll just get the morning after pill." And she's like, "Oh, okay, well, will you go get it?" And that's when I had to explain to her that I couldn't afford the thing because I was dead broke from my huge gambling problem. So she gave me $50 to go to the store. And I'm like, "Hey, why don't you give me 100? That way I could get 2 in case this ever happens again." And she just looks at me and she's like, "Trust me, this is never happening again." But so I take the $50, I get in the car, and I drive to the racetrack, where I put the $50 on a horse named Morning After. And the horse ended up winning the race at 50-1 odds. That pays $2,500. So then I got in the car, and I moved to Vegas. I told that joke at a mic a couple of weeks ago, and the bartender comes up to me and goes, "Yo, that Morning After story's crazy. Is that a true story?" And I'm like, "Well, 99% of it is." And he's like, "Well, what's the 1% that's not true?" And I'm like, "Oh, the part where I had sex." I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan. Oh, now you pay attention. And when the Eagles won the Super Bowl versus the New England Patriots, I thought that it was going to change my life. And it turns out nothing fucking happens. Like, you don't get a trophy, you don't get a t-shirt, you don't get anything. And I remember my bookie calls me about a week after, and he goes, "Hey, when are you going to pay the $2,500 that you owe me?" And I'm like, "I don't got to pay you. The Eagles won the Super Bowl." And he's like, "Yeah, I know. Then why the fuck did you bet the Patriots?" And then he didn't say another word. He just hung up the phone. And that's how I got the name Benny Legg. Because he found me and broke one. All right, guys, I'm Benny Legg. Thanks for listening.
Benny Legg, ladies and gentlemen.